So Zhu Yuan has just released, and a lot of people are wondering how to build her. She's a very strong ether attacker with a lot of crit rate and additional damage buffs, and especially if you have her W engine, some crit damage buffs. This is going to make her extremely easier to build, especially if you are looking for those crit damage and crit rate stats. You can put those in other places if you wanted to, but if not, depending on how lucky you are, you can actually make her quite the monster. First, let's take a look at the weapons that she will be using. So you can either get her signature W engine, that's really good on her. Of course, it's a signature weapon. You can either use the Brimstone. The Brimstone is pretty easy to proc with her as well, because she does do a lot of basic attacks. She does do a lot of dodge counters, and she also does do a lot of dash attacks as well. So Brimstone is pretty good as well. If you don't have the Brimstone, then Cannon Rotor is really good as well. You do get a crit rate from the main stat, as well as it does give you a extra damage every time you do crit, as well as an attack buff as well. You can also use Starlight Engine, being that she is someone that does get bonuses from doing dodge counters. You do want to be doing dodge counters on her pretty often, be able to proc the Starlight Engine buff pretty consistently as well. So when it comes to your drive disc, we do have a couple options here because we are early on in the game for your 2-piece, but for your 4-piece, you're definitely going to want to run Chaotic Metal. Chaotic Metal is a very good 4-piece set for ether damage units. It does give you ether damage by 10%, and then another 20% crit damage, and whenever you trigger the corruption additional damage effect, whenever the enemy is corrupted and you do additional ether damage to them, you will increase the effect by 5.5% for 8 seconds, stacking up to 6 times. So in this way, you're actually able to get about 53% crit damage, including the 20% that you also get from just having the 4-piece on. This is what I mean by when I say that Zhu Yuan will be very free-to-play friendly, and she will be someone that is very easy to build and very easy on substats and stuff like that. You won't necessarily need to have the craziest substats to make your Zhu Yuan do big damage, but if you do have some crazy substats, your Zhu Yuan will definitely do big damage. I mean, like bigger damage than what you would have did before if you didn't have the substats. Y'all know what I mean, right? Now, there's one thing that I want you guys to keep in mind about what I just said. Now, in regards to her disc drives, right, you can go Chaotic Metal, and even if you are going to run her with a different support, it may not really matter too much, but I do think there's a better recommendation if you're not going to use Nicole. You could go for a Woodpecker Electro 4-piece and then Chaotic Metal 2-piece. Woodpecker Electro is going to give you an attack buff each time you crit with a basic attack, dodge counter, or an EX special attack, and that's going to give you about a 27% attack buff when you have all 3 of these stacked for about 6 seconds. This is actually pretty easy to keep up with Zhu Yuan. The only move that doesn't really hit multiple times is her dodge counter. Because her dodge counter is the only move that doesn't hit multiple times, you're definitely going to want to be doing this often to be sure it does crit. But Zhu Yuan does also have a crit buff built into her special attack, so critting with the dodge counter should not be that hard to do after doing the special attack, as well as critting with the special attack will not be hard to do, and neither will critting with her basic attack as well. So I definitely think Woodpecker Electro is the move if you're going to not use Nicole. If you're going to run her with someone like Lycaon or Sakaku or Lucy Piper or something like that, then I definitely do think that running a Woodpecker Electro might give you a little bit more dividends than the Chaotic Metal set. Me personally, I kind of think that Nicole's debuffs and buffs are a little too broken to skip out on Zhu Yuan, but that's just my opinion. And there are multiple ways to play the game. You don't necessarily need to have all those buffs and debuffs to clear a lot of the stuff, especially when we get into the end game. So play how you want. But going forward, the rest of these recommendations are mostly for if you're going to use Nicole on the team. If you're not going to use Nicole on the team, then I definitely think going Woodpecker Electro and the Chaotic Metal 2-piece is the way to go. Now, as for your 2-piece set, you got a couple options here. I'm not gonna lie, you got a couple options. You can either go Hormone Punk, depending on what you have on your account. If you have a good 2-piece with good 2-piece Hormone Punk with good substats, that's definitely usable. You can also go Woodpecker Electro for the 2-piece crit rate. You can go Puffer Electro if you have a 2-piece Puffer Electro with good substats and you really want to have the pen, if you're maybe going to run her with someone like Arena. And those 3 are my choices for my like safe choices. Like those are like, you pick those and you won't go wrong picking those. Like those ones is Gucci. Here's my theory choices. I got 2 theory choices for you real quick, and I want y'all to let me know about this in the comments. Like, let me know if y'all thinking or seeing the same vision I'm seeing. I'm thinking we can use either Freedom Blues or Swing Jazz. Freedom Blues 2-piece, or if you don't have Freedom Blues 2-piece, or if you don't want to do the anomaly proficiency route, you don't want to really build her like where she does big corruption damage too, as well as big enhanced shell damage, you can go for Swing Jazz. Now, hear me out on the Swing Jazz pick, right? Hear me out on the Swing Jazz pick. Swing Jazz is going to give you an extra 20% energy regen. If you have more energy, you can do more EX skill. If you have her W engine and you do more EX skill, you're going to get the 30% crit rate buff, as well as the 8 charge stacks more often. More 8 charge stacks means more enhanced shells being buffed by the damage buff from the W engine, should theoretically mean more damage if you're using her more on field, rather than being like a more like come in and do big burst and then get off. Like if you're gonna play her as like a come in, do big burst and then get off, like after chain attack style, then this may not really like matter. You may just want to use the 3 optimal picks that I listed before. But if you're gonna play her more on field, like where she's doing like her own thing on field as well, and the supports kind of support her, I'm thinking that having the energy regen would in turn make your DPS like a little bit higher than maybe the other sets. And the same thing with Freedom Blues, because she does build quite a bit of anomaly herself with her chain attack and her ultimate and her EX skill. The only thing about the anomaly Freedom Blues 2-piece is that if you were to run the Freedom Blues 2-piece, you may have to build some anomaly on your supports as well, or it's maybe just Nicole, because Nicole is the only really other ether unit in the game. But mainly because you're trying to make sure that like if Nicole ends up building the anomaly bar, that she still does around the same amount of corruption damage as Zhu Yuan, because Nicole's orb does build quite a bit of corruption and she can overshadow Zhu Yuan's corruption buildup, especially if you have her C6 as well. So maybe the Freedom Blues set may not be the best, or may just be a throwaway set. Like I may have just been kind of yapping about the Freedom Blues. But Swing Jazz, I definitely think that Swing Jazz could be really good. Or if you don't do Swing Jazz, if you do like maybe an energy regen 6-piece, and then just get 35% energy regen and use that instead of using Swing Jazz, and then go like 2-piece Hormone Pump, 2-piece Woodpecker Electro, 2-piece Puff Electro. But let me be you guys' crash dummy. Let me go ahead and test that out, and I will let you guys know. I'll test that out in Shiyu defense, because I actually do have a energy regen piece ready for her that I'm gonna use to test to see how much or how often she really gets her EX skill and if it's really worth it. So I will definitely come back and visit this and let you guys know if that is worth it. But that's enough yapping. Let's get into what your substats is going to be, or what you want to focus on for your substats. You're definitely going to want to go for that crit rate, crit damage. You want that damage, you know what I'm saying? So you want that 1 to 2 crit ratio for sure, as any other crit rate, crit damage DPS. After crit rate, crit damage, you're definitely going to want to go for that attack percent. After attack percent, me personally, I would say Pen. Pen is pretty good to have as a nice little substat on there. You ignore some defense, why not? If you don't get some Pen, anomaly proficiency is also good as well. If you don't get the anomaly proficiency, then flat attack is also pretty good as well. That being said, that is how you're going to want to go ahead and build Zhu Yuan. Good luck on your pulls today, y'all. Have fun. Hopefully y'all get some early 5 stars. I know I won't, but at least y'all will. So I probably will end up posting my Zhu Yuan pulls as well if I do get lucky, or if I don't get lucky, we'll see. But that being said, thank y'all for watching, and I will catch y'all in the next video. Peace.